Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome to Wednesday here at Giga Texas on the 30th of November 2022. Can you believe it? It's the end of the month and we're getting ready to start December. Now today I had to start off a little bit later than normal because we had some severe winds, as you can see by this forecast. And I was hoping to be able to delay my time up here at Giga Texas to allow the winds to die down a little bit. And they did, but it was still a challenge to fly, so I had to alter my normal route, as you'll see today. The second thing I want to talk about real quick before we get into what we saw at the site is this video that I did 2 days ago over at the Boring Company and also a SpaceX warehouse site. It's about 25 kilometers or 18 miles due east of here, and I'd recommend you take a look at that video to see what else is going on in the nearby area. For today, there's three things I want to kind of talk about in the intro before we get into the video. First, on the south end, you can see where they've been removing all that concrete. On that west side, now they're doing some large trenching, probably to install those large concrete pipes, the storm pipes that are been stockpiled nearby. And as you can see by this image, not only are they doing some of the trenching in that area, but they also have trench boxes set up, and those are designed to help prevent the sides of the trench from caving in onto the workers. Then we're going to move over to the battery cathode plant on the west side just to show you some more of the activity going on with that new foundation for that new structure that we've talked about previously. As you can see by this image, they're doing more trenching as well now on the north and the east sides of this area. In addition to that, they're still doing some geopier work, some drilling for the soil test sampling, and a bunch of other activity as well. Now, I wasn't able to spend a whole lot of time up here today because of the winds, but I think you get enough to see what's going on. And the last area I want to talk about is over at the electrical switch yard, where they're pouring the second and the last of the two transformer slabs, as you can see in this image. And this will complete this concrete work, and then hopefully we'll start seeing some of the installation of that transformer. Also, there's more steel assembly, and as you can see by this image, they're installing the last two of the large circuit breakers, which are an important part of the electrical switch yard itself. Otherwise, a lot more activity going on the site despite the abbreviated flight due to the winds, and I hope that you enjoy what you see today. As always, thank you very much for your support and for watching, and I hope you have a great day.
A special thank you to all of my outstanding Patreons for your continued encouragement and support. Patreon members get access to hundreds of high-resolution photos, previews of the future material, and direct dialogue with me. If you would like to support my channel, please consider becoming a patron using this link, which is also in the video description. Please also consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. So today, on a very windy morning here at Giga Texas, we'll start off on the south end, and I'll give you a good view of the overall end of this building and the activities that are going on. Closest to the bottom of the screen, you can see the steel and other material staging location, and also some of the solar panels and those crates on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You can also see how the concrete lot is mostly removed. There's just this small section that's remaining just north of the cyber pond. And also there's some activity on the south west side with all of those concrete pipes, and I'll come back there and I'll show you what's going on. But first, what I want to show you is at the bottom right of the screen, you can see the trench work for the underground electrical conduit continues to be worked on this section of the south end, and this is about the last end here where it's terminating, and it looks like some concrete vaults are being installed as well. This is a nice close view of the materials that are staged here on the south end, and it seems like some of this is being used inside certain portions of the factory, but it's hard to tell for sure. And on the right hand side is more of those solar panels that I mentioned. Here underneath the power lines and by the base of this tower is where they are hooking up more of that underground electrical conduit that goes all the way under the ground to that earlier section that we saw. And this is where I believe the power will be connected directly to the power station across the Colorado River. As I pan the drone across the east back towards the north, this is a good view of how this end is appearing today. And most of the concrete, as mentioned, has been removed in this area, and they do have this small section remaining, but it's already been saw cut, so they are just waiting to come back in and start removing more of the sections. You can see a little bit at the top and the right hand side of the screen. Now, as mentioned, there is some activity on this west side, so let's bring the drone around and take a closer look. One of the things you'll notice is these blue water pipes have been delivered by this truck. They're being picked up by the forklift and moved over onto that a little bit farther south end near where that large yellow truck is located. You can also see the concrete water pipes that have been stockpiled here. And then where this excavator is working at the moment, we can see that there's a trench. And they have this trench box installed, and this is what helps prevent the trench from collapsing in on the workers. And in the bottom of the trench, it looks like there are some pipes in the bottom of the trench already. And what it may be is either they're replacing the steel corrugated pipes that were installed there earlier, or they're going to install these on top of that. This is something I'll have to continue to monitor to see what they do. You can see some of the concrete slabs at the bottom of the screen getting ready to be removed. More trucks arriving with equipment being put up onto the third floor of the General Assembly. And then as we wrap around the southeast corner of the stamping machine structure, we can see a lot of those blue-topped crates with the AIDA stamping machine components. Just inside that door, we saw some rolls of steel. And then here is more of the parts and components for that AIDA stamping press. And the last video, there was a lot of equipment that had been delivered here recently. Looks like most of that has been moved inside that stamping extension on the south end as well. I was hoping to get a little bit closer views of that from what I got on my previous video, but it's all gone now. So as we proceed towards the north, across the roof of the body in white portion of the building, I'll show you some of the progress that's going on here with this HVAC ducting and the open section of the roof. It looks like there's been quite a bit of progress since we were here 2 days ago. In fact, you can see these white beams that have been installed, or at least been painted, and the perimeter of the roof where the opening is, looks like most of that is completed as well, and then they're getting ready to install the grates to complete this installation. We're going to continue over the roof towards the west side. In the background, you can see that west material staging location. And then here is the west main entrance with quite a bit of work continuing to reconfigure the entire front end treatment, probably to make a more suitable headquarters front opening and entranceway. What we can see in the bottom of the screen is this landscaped section that has that cyber wall, and you can also see by the trees how much they're moving around from all of the wind. So the drone was working pretty hard here. But as we get a little bit closer in, I'll show you how the stairs appear today. and it looks like more has been demolished. In fact, the parts that were the actual stairs themselves seem to be all in rubble now, and the top landing has already been saw cut, so they'll be ready to demolition this soon. Looks like that black fence got blown over, and some of the material on the glass doors has been pulled off by all the high winds as well. An interesting thing you might notice is it looks like there's some sort of styrofoam or some sort of loose material at the base underneath the stairway, which kind of suggests maybe this was temporary after all, and they knew at some point they might do a reconfiguration. But anyway, we'll continue to monitor what they do. You can see the concrete apron saw cutting and removal continues, but there's still more work to be done. We're going to continue back up to the north along this side just to show you some trenching operations that are going on in and around where this manifold system was installed. Not sure if they're adding more pipes or doing some repair work. But while we're here, let's face across the highway and let's go and see what is going on with the material storage yards today. Here we're at the material staging location that was added within the last couple of months. You can see that there's still a lot of material on the south end, some fencing, some crates have been relocated, and it looks like they're preparing to bring more equipment up onto the north portion of this one staging location. As we approach this one, this is where it's been reconfigured here recently. They've flattened out the grade, added the aggregate mix on top, which helps reduce the mud and makes it a little bit stronger for storage. You can see some materials here at the bottom of the screen, and we also see some workers, some equipment, and it looks like possibly some trailers, maybe even small offices being set up on this new staging location today. So continues to see interesting developments over here. As we fly up over the trees that are blowing rapidly because of all of the wind, you can see the materials that are staged over in this section. It looks like most of it's steel. There's some shoring for the cranes, I believe, some tanks, and the brown or brownish red steel is the steel that's been here for quite some time, about a year and a half, still waiting to figure out what that is for. But most of this rest of the steel is being used somewhere inside the building, possibly in the eastern half of the 4680 section of the building on that northwest corner, as that still has some interior construction ongoing. But there's so much of the steel here that it is most likely being used in other sections of the factory as well. As we approach back towards the highway, one of the things I'll show you is this transport with a bunch of Model Ys that have just recently been picked up, and they're getting ready to move off towards the south. Now that we've crossed back over the highway, we'll take a look at the north end and see what activity is going on here today. We'll start off with this work in the center area between the parking lot and the road. You can see that they are working on some plumbing, but mostly now it looks like the curbs and the sidewalks that are being completed with concrete. At the north end of the plastics in that middle, those two ground level doors, and the paint shop, we can see quite a bit of activity. Up on top of those, the platform is actually some more robot machines that have been recently delivered, and that adds to the 8 more of the robotic assemblers that we saw in the previous video. As we continue to climb up here to get ready to go over the power lines, you can see the amount of castings that have been made here and stored on the east side of the casting machine structure. Most of those rack mounts are empty right now, which is very interesting. And then as we get closer to this small parking lot, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here to show you a lot of the activity that is going on. You can see on the bottom of the screen where they have been working on electrical conduit. They have these concrete bases for what I believe are superchargers. And there it looks like there's a series of superchargers that have been delivered. And we'll get a much closer view of that in just a second as I turn the drone around to give you a good view around this particular section. And the east side, the warehouse on wheels, the helicopter pad, and then of course back to this parking lot. Now this parking lot looks to be being in the process of reconfigured to duplicate or replace the south end lot that is being demolished right now. And to do that, they need to have superchargers, and it looks like they have a couple banks of conduit installed on the left-hand side, some of those bases that you can see, those concrete, and then what appears to be some supercharger units, these white squares right by the light post. Now these are a little different than what we've seen before, so it's interesting what kind of design and what they will be using here. It'll be something I'll continue to monitor. As you can see, the parking lot is quite full with a lot of contractors and employees working today. The new car staging location and transportation lot is fairly busy. A couple of about 3 trucks picking up vehicles right now. Most of these are picked up near real time and then transported up to the rail yard, which is near Hutto, or as one viewer wanted me to say, near Taylor, Texas. And that is where they are staged and then put onto rail cars. Here you can see an interesting delivery, that one black trailer here in the middle of the warehouse on wheels lot, the temporary parking lot they've been adding in. And I will also bring the drone down to show you some more of these concrete squares that were cut from the south end. And you can see the rebar squares that have been prefabricated here in preparation for putting footings up in this section where I believe they'll be using it to install footings for this building construction. Now what you can see here is on the left-hand side of the screen, they're doing some work on the geopier equipment. The drill is on the ground and the compactor is on the left. It looks like we're getting more of this gravel aggregate delivered, and this is a sign that we will see more geopier work, and there's a few other geopier devices in the middle of the construction site. And the tall yellow crane on the left is a tall drill used to drill bores to test the soil strength. You can also see what looks like to be a delivery of yet another yellow crane on several of those trucks, and it will be assembled here soon. That'll bring to 3 cranes, one of which is being used as a test drill for that soil. You can also see some work going on here with the blue pipe to connect in to some of the previously installed blue pipe. Also, it looks like a second temporary platform will be installed here and will be servicing also the 3rd floor on this section of the building. We've also saw some more wall panels delivered, so we'll see some more of the building being closed up here soon. As we move towards the north, we can see the work on that steel structure continues, especially with that interior room, and it looks like they're starting to install some of the wall panels as well. There's some plumbing work going on at the north end, and also just some work going on with that 3rd floor with HVAC ducting and some interior rooms being installed as well. As we maneuver over towards the west side, you can see the storage section here with that roof for some of the materials and components that are wrapped in white plastic. You can see the work on that steel structure here on the west side. It's just too windy for me to get down close to there for today, so sorry about that, but instead I'll give you a really good view here from the west looking to the east of this new foundation. You can see the trench work on the east and the north side with what looks like to be white pipe being installed into the bottom of the trench. I will pull away from the battery cathode plant. The Martin Marietta batch plant is on the left, and then this is that temporary lined pond for contaminated water, some of which I think may be coming in from that Martin Marietta plant, but it also may be used from other sections of the site as well. So as I prepare to maneuver the drone over towards the switchyard, I'll give you a quick view here. We can see some trailers and also some work going on in this temporary office section where one thing is new employee orientation takes place. As we approach up to the switchyard, we'll see a lot of activity today, which is great to see. Starting off with pouring of the concrete second slab for the transformers. You can see the pump truck has just finished up work. The workers are smoothing out the concrete in that center raised section. And as you can see, the one on the left is already completed. So soon we should see transformers coming here for installation. Just to the north, you can see more of the steel columns with the insulator tops, and also some of the bus bars have been installed. And then as we approach here where the 4 A-frames, 4 of eventually 7, you can see now all 6 of the V-top circuit breakers have been installed. The 2 on the center of the screen were just recently installed. You can also notice that there's some gravel mix that has been brought here in those 2 piles, so that's something interesting that I'll continue to monitor to see if they're going to spread that on the ground or do some other construction. If you see the water in the water detention pond, you can see just how much the water was flowing because of the strong wind from the north. But despite that, give you a good view of the overall electrical switch yard and how it looks today. And as you can see, it's really coming along with all of the steel installation and assembly. The steel poles at the bottom of the screen are still waiting for assembly. Those will be what are used to connect the high tension wires to these existing power lines to allow the electrical switch yard to function. Here's a good view of the switch yard with the battery cathode plant in the background. And also this triangular section is where the megapacks will be eventually installed. They'll have to do some work to make that much more rectangular as construction continues. But as we approach back towards the main building itself, I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching. I hope that you appreciate the views and the information that I've presented despite the pretty challenging and very windy conditions here at Giga Texas today. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate all of the support, and I'll end with giving you a view of the west side and over towards the battery cathode plant, just to give you a good send-off for today's video. Again, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day.